On this episode of the Women Connected podcast, we're bringing you highlights from some of our most popular episodes, focusing on tips, tools, and suggestions that will help you deal with the demands of December and set you up for a great 2014.
This is the Women Connected podcast, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. If you're ready to cut through the noise and learn exactly the tools you need to create your professional brand, be recognized, and keep up in today's fast-paced world, then stay tuned.
Welcome to the Women Connected podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Goodgame, Program Director at TBW, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. Don't forget to check our website for the show notes for all of our podcast episodes. Just go to tbwconnect.com/listen. If you're enjoying this podcast series, please take a moment and rate and review the podcast on iTunes. We appreciate your support. If you want more great content from TBW, you can like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. But even better, you can join TBW for just $52 a year and get access to members-only resources and events. Visit tbwconnect.com/join for more information. On today's episode of Women Connected, we're bringing you a special Dominate December edition. As we come to the end of the year, we all have so many plans, so many goals, so much time that we want to spend with our families. And with the suggestions and tips that we are bringing you today from some of our best and most popular podcast episodes, we think you'll be able to put together a great plan to see the end of the year out in style and get yourself ready for a brand new, spectacular 2014. So let's get started with Lisa Wisner. She was our first podcast guest on the Women Connected podcast, and she's talking today about a great app that she uses to keep herself organized both at home and at work called Trello. If you're trying to manage a ton of schedules at home for yourself, for your family, for your children, and you're trying to manage projects at work, and you find yourself needing to be really mobile with all of this information, it sounds like Trello is an amazing resource that can help you keep track of just about everything in a really creative and easy-to-use way. So let's hear how Lisa uses it for her life.
Part of my life is, thinking about how I can, capitalize on the time I have. We all get so much time in our day, and you can't necessarily say, there's that saying, don't mix your personal life with your business life. And for me, I can't do that because my personal life is my business life. My business life is my personal life. My family is affected by the business decisions I make. And so I'm fortunate to live in a household. I guess my family, my husband is just so tech driven, just like I am. So we actually use the technologies that I use in our personal lives. So when I have a task that's a family task, it shows up on Trello. It shows up on our Google Calendar, the family Google Calendar. We have so many different ways that we're able to streamline our lives, our activities around our around our professional lives. And I think that, technology allows you to do that. It allows you to be able to have personal assistants running around in the background, but it's a tool. It's a technology tool that's helping you be more organized.
Can you talk a little bit about Trello and what that, how that functions for you?
Okay. The beauty of Trello, for me, Trello is, it's almost like imagine if you had many bulletin boards all over, right? But these are virtual bulletin boards. And you're able to literally have a sticky for every task you have to complete. And in those stickies, you're able to write checklists in there of what you have to do, what projects you have to do. You're also able to assign those different stickies to other people. So imagine being able to do that, but in a virtual environment. And imagine being able to have an unlimited amount of whiteboards all over you. And so anything that you're working on, any projects you're working on, they would just show up on your Trello board depending on what you do. So like, for example, for me, I have many different ways that I use my Trello board. I have it where if I'm working on a project, like for example, I think the basic example I like to show people is, your email. You might use email as your to-do list. A lot of people do that. They have their emails in there, and if somebody sent them an email, something they need to work on, they leave it in there until they finish that, right? And for me, I feel like that's counterproductive because you're always going back to your email. You're not really accomplishing anything if you're doing that. And so what I do is I actually forward every email that has a task assigned to it, something I have to complete. I just forward it to Trello. It shows up on Trello as a card, and then I move that card accordingly. Is it a 5-minute task, a 20-minute task, a 40-minute task, whatever it is? It goes into those different gaps, and that way when I'm aligning my day in the morning, I can see, where are my priorities, how much time do I have in between meetings, what needs to be done. And I call myself a magician because of it, because I'm able to literally whiz through my email. I also use an app called Boomerang. That one's just fantastic, but I'll tell you about that one later. But, I think for Trello for me is that whiteboard wherever I want it. If it's on my iPad, if it's on my phone, if it's on my computer, it's right there with me all the time. I don't have to think, I wish I was at work right now with my whiteboards. No, it's there with me all the time.
Don't forget to check our show notes for more information about Trello and some of the other apps that Lisa talks about in her podcast episode, which was episode 1. Also provide a link back to Lisa's episode so that you can hear more about all of the wonderful tools that she uses in her life. Next up, we're going to hear from 2 of our more recent podcast guests, Ilya Albaran and Alyssa Ashwood. They're both talking about some really incredible resources that are available online. Some of them are free and some of them are available for a low monthly fee. They are all sites where you can go to learn new skills, new software programs, things like that to help increase your both your skills for your personal interests, such as photography or cooking or things like that, as well as skills for your professional interests, including software programs that are really in demand in the workplace. Before we started recording today's interview, we were talking about some resources that you have found that are good sites that people can use if they're looking to increase their skills or they're looking to learn something new. Could you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, there's a few that I really love. One of them is specifically geared towards more photography people who want to learn more about photography and having a photography business. It's called Creative Live, and their classes are free and streaming, and then you have to pay for them if you want to watch it on demand. But they also have other classes about lifestyle, keeping yourself centered and stress-free. And every single class that I've watched from them, I've really enjoyed. They have questions and answers, and the live streams are great because you can just put it on and do whatever else you're doing around the house or at work and kind of check in and out and catch bits and pieces that interest you. Another one that I recently discovered is called General Assembly. The classes that I signed up for on that, it's a monthly access pass, but you get 14 days free to try it. So I'm going to try to watch as many classes as I can in that 14 days to see if I like it. And now I've signed up for Design Hacks for Non-Designers, which should be an interesting one. And then the one I'm really excited about is Programming for Non-Programmers, Tech Speak, which I think will be a huge help around the Four Kitchens office because I'm not a programmer, but I would like to be able to listen to the conversations and understand what they're saying. And then the last one that I know a lot of people use is called Skillshare.
I love Skillshare.
I know. What's not to love? And they call it on-demand project-based classes, which is like my kind of jam. I love a project-based class. I like to be able to see the result of what I've learned at the end of it. And so right now I'm taking Learn InDesign and Learn Illustrator, which are both programs that I've dabbled with just for fun and sort of troubleshooting and learning different things. But I really want to be able to take it to the next level where I feel more confident with those programs. I'm really excited about that class. I know that as I was applying to Four Kitchens, I was putting together a resume for one of the first times in a long time because I had been self-employed and worked at the Armadillo for over 7 years now. And a couple of the resumes that I came across as examples of, what to make yours look like were all really beautiful and made in InDesign. And I was like, well, I don't have time to learn how to use InDesign and make my resume really beautiful, but one day I'm going to learn how to use that program. And I love design. I love the seamlessness of, like you said, like images and text and typography and how you can make it look so stunning.
And next up, we've got Alyssa Ashwood talking about some of her favorite online learning resources, including the website lynda.com.
The other a great learning source that I used early on, especially if you wanted to learn a particular piece of software. And I will say early on, I was concerned that I didn't know any of the visual software or the web software. So I wanted to learn some about WordPress. I wanted to learn a little bit about photo editing. And I couldn't spend a lot of money on it because it wasn't the thing I was going to do for my job full time. But I wanted to know enough to be dangerous so that I could know if I was asking someone else to do something, how big of a task that was. And I would have some way to evaluate how well they were doing it. And the source that I liked the best for that was lynda.com, Lynda. And what I liked about it is it was $25 a month and you could cancel anytime. And it taught you, it had just a huge menu of different software programs and a bunch of videos that would show you screen by screen how to do a bunch of different things. And it was really well done. And it gave me a sense of confidence that I could learn whatever I needed to learn, not just that one thing. It was kind of a good security blanket.
I haven't used Lynda yet, but it actually keeps coming up in my Facebook feed, offering me a discount. So I think our listeners probably should take a look for Lynda on Facebook because they might find themselves able to get a discount on an initial month or some courses. But just on our podcast last week, we were talking about sources like Lynda online that offer courses from skilled instructors for very reasonable cost that are exactly the kind of thing that you're talking about, designed to help you either completely go from 0 to 60 in a new software program or even just learning a new skill. One of the examples we've had was photography and simply learning how to be a better photographer. So these kinds of services really seem to be a wave of the future as employers are starting to offer fewer and fewer training opportunities for their employees. Have you found this to really sort of be the next big thing?
Yeah, I think it's a great observation. What's really interesting to me is that in 2009, the Census Bureau reported that 1 in 9 people were self-employed. And I just read something in Business Week that in 2013, the estimate is that as many as 1 in 3 people are self-employed. And I think that trend to be more, have your own suitcase and will travel, kind of your own, managing your own career, whether you're inside an organization or you're outside, has made the demand from us as individuals much, much clearer. And so it means that more service providers are offering things that an individual could buy. And I think that the exciting thing about that is we're seeing so many more offerings, including free offerings. And, the other tip that I would pair with pick one thing is there are many levels at which you can learn something. And I would encourage you to just try to learn the 1 hour version of learning something. And if that feels good, then try the 2 hour version of learning something. And maybe then you're going to spend 4 hours learning something. When was the last time you actually spent 4 hours learning something? I mean, when you tied your shoes, you never spent 4 hours learning it. So it's going to give you so much more knowledge in a short amount of time than you think. We're really bad at estimating how long it's going to take us to learn something. A lot of times we can learn things just enough, a little bit of something in a short amount of time, to really master something obviously takes a long amount of time, but you might be surprised at how little you need to know to be able to do what you're trying to do.
Now we're going to shift gears a little bit and hear from Lois Barth. Lois is a coach and a speaker and a trainer, and she is talking here about a great tool that she uses to help her manage her business. So if you are a solo entrepreneur, if you have a small business, or if you have a business that you're working on the side, This resource that Lois talks about, called the Numbers Tool, can be really helpful for helping you figure out exactly where you are financially, where your prospects are coming from, and whether or not the follow-up that you're doing with clients is working. So let's hear from Lois about this great tool, and afterwards we'll give you information on how you can get a free copy of the Numbers Tool.
The biggest tool that I think I shared with you before, Lisa, is the Numbers Tool. Most people are not going to know about this. I think it's absolutely, bar none, the most valuable tool I've used.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because this was fascinating to me.
Mark LeBlanc is a business coach, a small business business coach, and he's a wonderful man. And I had just a couple of sessions with him, but he gave me one of the best tools, which is a numbers tool. Which, by the way, there's going to be a special offering. I just cleared it with his office today. He's not offering it to everyone, just people who I refer. Basically, it's a free tool. He's launching a huge program. So I'm going to be really specific here. One of the things I tell my clients that I work with, especially small business owners that are looking to launch their business or take their business to the next level, it's like everything else. And I also do relationship coaching, like diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's a professional suicide. And I can't say that strongly enough, to put all your eggs in one basket. So one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to have multiple revenue streams, because 2 years ago I only had one. It was coaching. And when my clientele went down, I was in trouble. I said I would never do that again. Plus, I'm somebody who loves to do 1,000 things, right? So I actually have something called a numbers tool that actually outlines every single one of my profit centers and how much money each month I'm making in each of my profit centers. Right? Because as solopreneurs, we get very mystified, but the numbers tell the truth. Life is subjective, but the numbers are objective. So to just be really specific in my life now, the numbers tool helps me chronicle all my different profit centers. And would it be helpful for me to give an example of what I mean by a profit center?
Yes, absolutely. And also, I'm wondering if it helps you with projection as well. Bingo, totally. So I have an optimistic number I want to make a year, and it breaks it down to what does that mean a month, right? And then I basically have, right now, I have 6 profit centers, right? I'm a keynote speaker. I am a workshop leader. I do executive coaching. Companies hire me all the time to go internally in their coaching, with their VPs and middle management people. Mm-hmm. I have a private practice coaching, right? And I also have a product profit center. So now I have 5. And I get to see every month, how are my different profit centers working? And what's lagging behind? And if I say I want to make X dollars a year speaking, well, guess what? The numbers don't lie. And it's incredibly grounding, because as solopreneurs, we can get very, very pie in the sky. And we need to look and go, that's nice, but we said we wanted to make X dollars, but you know what? We actually only made Y dollars. Not to make yourself wrong, but to say, for the next 90 days, I'm going to put more energy into profit center A versus B. The other thing that it does, which I love, I don't consider myself a very visual person, but I am very goal-oriented. So it has this groovy light tool that when you make your weekly number, the yellow lights up. When you make your daily number, and you get to know, how much do I need to make a day? How much do I need to make a week? So when your daily number lights up, when you meet it, it turns to yellow. When you meet your weekly, it turns to blue. And when you make your monthly, it turns to green. And every single time you enter a new numbers tool, the percentages go up. So you could say, hey, I'm up to 78% of my, optimistic number. And it's really incentivizing. It just jazzes me up. And now I call the office, and Kylie, his assistant, Mark's incredible assistant, said, well, we have an upgraded tool that has what's called HVAs, which are high-value activities. One of the things that I see, I coach a lot of solopreneurs and also entrepreneurs. One of the things is they can get very pie in the sky. They can go to 27 networking events, but then not follow up with any of them. Mm-hmm. Or they can spend a lot of time dancing, in
I would say not even low-hanging fruit, non-existent, shriveled up fruit, spending time following up. Well, I did 17 Facebook postings. Yes. Are they your decision makers? Are they your ideal clients? Do they know the ideal clients? So the HVA system helps you really look at the pipeline. How many people are you really courting in your pipeline? And you get to also assess what percentage of the clients that you have are you actually closing. So I do a lot of strategic coaching with my clients, but I also do a lot of communication work. And I say, hey, what are the caliber of the conversations that you're having? And are they closing? And if they're not, how do we need to reconfigure them to close? And the numbers don't lie. So if you have 40 people in your pipeline and you're closing 4, something's wrong. Either you're not reaching the right people or you're not enrolling them. You're not educating what's in it for them. Did this make sense to you, Lisa?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, what platform is this tool on? Is it web-based? Is it Excel-based? I mean, I'm trying to imagine a flashing Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But
No, that's what it is. It's not flashing. Well, I guess it is flashing, right, if it has the colors.
Yeah.
It's a basic, Mark, I spoke with Mark about it, and he was going to do a web-based, and he decided not to do a web-based. It'll be basically like a software that you could purchase. Right now, like I said, in his beta testing stage, for select clients, he's allowing people to just shoot an email, and he will send it to them free. Next Q1 of 2014, he's going to really take it. It'll be the launch, and it'll be obviously, a fairly high, moderate to high ticket price. So it's a great tool for, for small business owners, and even not even so small. Even a medium-sized business owner would be a wonderful tool. So yes, it's and I have a Mac, and I sent it to clients that are on PCs, and they have no issue with it whatsoever.
well, that's great, and that's wonderful. It's a great benefit to be able to offer that for our listeners, and I'll make sure to put the contact information in the show notes so that people can get in touch with you to request that tool.
Terrific.
This numbers tool is a really great resource, and we've provided a link on the show notes page for how you can contact Mark LeBlanc and get your own copy of the numbers tool. It could be a great holiday gift for yourself. So December wouldn't be December if it wasn't filled with holidays, travel, parties, and all sorts of additional responsibilities that we just don't have to manage during the rest of the year, crammed into a very short period of time. And if you're like me, and if you're like a lot of the women that we talk to on the Women Connected podcast, you have your fingers in a lot of pies, and balance is often a challenge. So we're going to wrap up today's episode with some insights from Orit Ramler-Sulik, who is a coach who works with individuals and businesses. And when we talked with her a couple of weeks ago on her podcast episode, she really focused on helping us manage technology overwhelm. And if ever there was a time of year when technology overwhelm threatens us, December is definitely it. So we thought that spending the last few minutes of the podcast with Orit and some of her great ideas for reminding ourselves of what our priorities are and how we can balance them with the demands of our job would be a great way to wrap up our Dominate December episode of the Women Connected podcast. So let's check in with Orit. We're talking now about some of the benefits of technology. Can you talk a little bit maybe about a challenge you've had in your work and how technology has helped you to solve that?
Absolutely. I'm thinking now on a professional note. So it's again, I believe, is a combination between personal and work. I'm the caregiver for my parents, and my dad, who is doing well now, had a heart attack a few years ago, and I needed to be there for him. He wasn't speaking English, and he really needed my support with my mom. At the same time, when I was executive director of the local Jewish Federation, I was extremely busy with deadlines and critical issues. But still, I knew my priorities. I knew I need to be with my parents and their well-being. But I also knew that there are things that I need to do at work at the same time. So it was easy, right? I took my office somehow with me. And in between Dropbox and Skype. I was in many meetings through Skype and my computer and my iPad and my cell phone. I was doing everything I had to do. I had the phone. It was really easy to be somewhere else and take care of what I had to take care of. At the same time, I need to acknowledge that it became very, very hard. And that's when I especially started thinking about boundaries. I forgot in the middle of the equation about myself. It was taking care of my parents, my job, my kids, my husband, everything. And I was exhausted and I started to be frustrated, feeling as if I wasn't here or there. And I started to question what I was not doing well by doing so much, and what was the price that I was paying for the pace I was trying to follow. I had no other choice than to think how I can overcome that. And the first step for me was really the awareness of that there was something that was not working for me. And I think awareness is key in everything we do, every moment of our life. And then I decided to shift something in order to make it better. I knew that the first shift I had to do was to tell myself a different story, not the one that says, I can do it all and I can be everything for everyone. And, sometimes we try to say that story to ourselves, but really, can we? So then I took some action. And because I'm a strong believer that we can't just hope that things will get better, we need to make them better. And I couldn't change my dad's reality, and family is a key value for me. So I had to do something in my work area, which is also important. But I knew that at that moment, there was something more important. So it was easier than what I thought. I just had to verbalize it, to speak with the president of the organization and explain that I need to slow down and that I need permission to put technology that is taking work to the hospital on the side and assign times to stay in touch with the office and to be on top of things, but in a limited amount. So I needed to ask for permission to do that. And I realized, based on my president's reaction, that it wasn't a permission that I needed from them. It was a permission that I needed to give to myself. And that's something that happens many times, that we need to allow ourselves to put technology aside, leave work behind. I learned a lot from that experience, to ask what I need and not to make assumptions about what is expected from me without checking with others. And that it's important to be at one place at a time.
At this time of year, the idea of being in just one place at a time sometimes may be more of a challenge than many of us can manage. But we hope that this episode has given you some great tips and tools and insights for helping you power through the month of December and get a great jump on 2014. I'll be back next week with a regular episode of the Women Connected podcast. In the meantime, I hope you'll go back and check out the full episodes of the wonderful women that I had the opportunity to talk with for this episode, and catch up on any episodes that you might have missed. The Women Connected podcast was brought to you by TBW and the TBPW Foundation, underwriter of many of our training and leadership development programs. For more information about TBW membership and our upcoming programs, please visit our website at tbwconnect.com. We hope you'll join us next time on Women Connected.